To discuss, we're joined by former Council of Economic Advisors Acting Chair Tom Philipson and New York Post columnist Carol Markowitz. Great to see both of you. Tom, let's focus on the affordability issue. It seemed to work in the elections yesterday. They just say the word, but even the solutions are, if you listen to Zoran Mamdani, it's to threaten the very job creators and revenue generators who prop up this already socialist economy in New York City.
Yeah, I mean, there's this huge misunderstanding when they go out and say things are free. You're just paying for it in taxes. I don't know why that's so hard to understand, essentially. Either that or the rich people are paying for it in taxes. And the rich people in New York State account for 40% of state revenue, and California is 50%. So they're basically paying for everything. What I think is the underlying theme of most of these socialists is that the rich are not helping other people enough. That's sort of the bottom line of this, that they're selfish, without understanding that in a market economy, the only way you make money is to help other people by selling them something that they value more than they pay for it, essentially. So the more you help other people, the richer you get. And that's very, very hard for these people to understand, I think. And I think that you see the result of that misunderstanding. They're well-intended, but economically clueless.
Carol, there was a line that stood out to me during the speech last night from Mamdani, his victory speech, and it was the exact opposite of Reagan's famous quote where he said the scariest words in the English language are, "I'm here from the government and I'm here to help," paraphrasing. Mamdani said, pretty close to a direct quote, "There is no problem too big for the government to solve and no issue too little for the government not to care about." I mean, that is quite a soundbite that distills what he believes, but it's frightening, I think, to a lot of people who understand how the economy actually works.
I also just don't think he's going to be able to solve these problems, big or small. Some of the issues that he has run on, like free buses, for example, are simply outside of his control. It's the state that raises taxes. I don't think Kathy Hochul is going to take a chance with her governor election coming up next year and raise taxes on New Yorkers and risk her own election for Mamdani to have, basically homeless shelters on wheels. So I don't think he's going to get a chance to do this. The communist rhetoric does really concern me. Hassan Piker, who the New York Times is in love with and has done many stories on, he's a far left online personality. He said yesterday at this victory party that it's unfortunate that the United States beat the Soviet Union in the Cold War. I mean, this is their brain trust here, and these are the people that they're following. It is terrifying, but I hope that they won't be able to succeed in their plans.
He might not be able to raise like taxes and raise, and start spending money on his little cherry ideas, Tom, but he can drive revenue out of this city really easily. All you got to do is let crime get out of hand and the tourists don't start showing up. And we have a pretty broad tax base here, but you lose sales tax revenue and tourism revenue, and you are out of luck. But I want to talk about President Trump. The message on affordability really worked against the Republicans. And Larry Kudlow has pointed out President Trump is 25 points underwater on inflation and 13 points underwater on the economy. What gives?
I think there's a lot of misperceptions on the economy. We have GDP growth of 4% last quarter. We're looking at another 4%. We have a GDP deflator, which is the most comprehensive measure of inflation. Doesn't only cover consumers, but also investors, which is down to 2%. So I think you can't say people are not experiencing what they're feeling in terms of prices, but I think it's a totally different approach by the Trump administration, which is to stimulate supply to get down prices versus having the government redistribute wealth to get down prices. Those are two very dramatically different ways of getting down prices.
And Carol, totally agree with that. Completely different worldviews and approaches to this, but Trump won on the issue of affordability in large measure. Democrats are saying, let's just do the same thing. And as long as people are ticked off, you can't tell them they don't feel it, right? That's the problem Democrats ran into a year ago.
Absolutely. Well, look, one of the things that went wrong last night was in Virginia, you had the government shutdown, and the mainstream media is not covering that shutdown at all. They're not telling the story of the poor single mom who's not getting SNAP benefits the way that they would be doing if Republicans were at fault for that shutdown. I think Republicans need to do a better job of telling the stories and spreading their message of what is really going on and why people are suffering economically. But you're right. You either act on it or you don't, and people are going to think what they want to think when their pocketbooks are hit. Again, going back to, these are blue states where they are getting the message that everything is Donald Trump's fault. I think that's a very hard thing to counter, but Republicans should give it their shot.
Yeah, it's like blaming this supermarket when you gain weight. Carol Markowitz, great to see you. Thank you so much. Tom Phillipson
Thanks,
as well.
guys.
Be well.